Hey guys, my name is Kevin Wolf and this video will be in English again. I'm currently head referee of Germany. I'm arm wrestler for more than 10 years. I'm referee since about 10 years. In the past, I've always enjoyed watching the WAF Europeans and World Arm Wrestling Championships. I just love to watch them all the week long, watch all the matches, especially the youth and the seniors and the women as well. And I just love the talent that's on the table, the power and the dedication. It was just an awesome week for me all the time, even if I wasn't there myself. But in the last years, this got progressively worse every year, up to a point where it's, in my opinion, borderline unwatchable. And if you watch the Arm Wrestling World Championships yourself, you know what I mean. Almost every match gets stopped multiple times until there's a winner or even gets decided on fouls. It might be that I'm over-exaggerating, maybe it's not that much, but if you watch the Arm Wrestling World Championship, you will know what I'm talking. It feels like there's not even a single match without any stoppage or jump start or foul, micro foul, whatever. And it really ruins watchability for me. I think we need to talk about arm wrestling rules, especially rules under the WAF standard. Just for the beginning, I want to say I'm not knocking or insulting or whatever, blaming any of the referees there. I know they just do what they're told to do. They apply the rules to the best of their abilities. They for sure try to do their best. They will just call the rules down as they're written, yeah? So it's not the referee fault. But there needs to be a change. Also, we need to agree on two things so this works. First, sports in general is to find out who's the better man. Who is the faster guy, who can jump higher, who's the better wrestler, who's the better boxer. This is what is sport all about. To find out what's the better team, who's the better guy, who's the stronger guy. That's sport. Everybody who does sports just likes to test themselves. And the rules, and that's point two, the rules in any sport are, in my opinion, there to prevent guys from cheating their way to victory. So a weaker guy or a slower guy, or in arm wrestling case, maybe weaker guy, can't cheat themselves to victory. So the rules need to ensure that always the better man wins. In arm wrestling, however, and especially in WAF arm wrestling, it seems like it's kind of reversed. In big arm wrestling promotions like East vs West and other promotions, they almost always change the rules from WAF to their own rule set just to make it more watchable. I think WAF should get out of their way and change their rules so they are more watchable as well. Because I know WAF attempts to go to the Olympics, but if Olympics watch, or if the Olympic Committee watched this year's WAF finals, they will be like, no. And therefore, I think there needs to be a change happening. I have 4 points that I want to talk about. I want to get right into it. The first point is the protest system. I think the protest system as it is right now is unnecessary and it's unfair. Why is it unfair? If you have enough of this, you can protest in any match and you can basically protest in every referee decision, and the chances are very high that there is something the referees missed before you lost the match, if you lose the match, for example. So if you have a big enough pocket and enough money, you can protest every decision. But a guy from a smaller arm wrestling country like Austria, even Germany, most of them spend a lot of money to even go there, compete there. And if they face a bad referee decision or just a fall, which happens, it's just a human natural that mistakes happen, they need to pay the protest out of their own money. If they face enough of those protests, this can get really expensive. But this is not a problem for big arm wrestling countries like Kazakhstan or Turkey or Georgia, who are government sponsored, and they will just pull out another dollar bill. Yeah, it's not a problem for them. But smaller arm wrestling countries have a problem. So they are always at a disadvantage if it's about protests. In my opinion, protests should be limited, but they should be free. We can discuss about how many protests there are for every athlete, if you have one per match, or maybe one protest for the preliminary rounds, one for the finals, maybe semifinals to the finals. We can discuss about that, but in my opinion, protests should be free. That's the first. The second is in my opinion, they need to change the general jump start rule. Because if I'm a clever guy, I can basically jump start in a match 4 times and ruin my opponent that way. Let's paint a picture. I'm arm wrestling a guy and I do a jump start and I get him almost to the pad. Then he catches me and he pins me. So if we agree to the 2 points we agreed in the beginning, he's the stronger guy. He caught me cheating. Even when I cheated, he caught me. He pulled me back and beat me. So he's definitely the stronger guy. In WAF, however, they will stop the match and they will restart the match because I did a jump start. Now, if I'm a clever guy and I see that, I will do a jump start 2 more times. Then I have 1 foul and 1 warning. So I have basically just 1 warning left. Now, if I do this clever enough, I can exhaust my opponent. And maybe, even if I'm the weaker guy, I can exploit this rule so much that on the 4th or 5th start, I can beat him. This can even go so crazy that even if we pull and I do a jump start, I can even use an elbow foul, give myself a very big advantage and pull him almost to the pad. They will not call the elbow foul, they would just call the jump start. It costs my opponent more power and more energy to catch me all the time than it would be to just arm wrestle me fair. So this needs to change, and the referees need to give the power to adapt. If somebody does a jump start and he's not able to pin his opponent and loses the match, the referee should be able to award the victory to the guy that won. The referees should be able to watch the situation and adapt to the situation and call how they feel it's fair. So in that case, in a match like this, there don't need to be 4 jump starts. It's just 1 start, he catches me, he wins. That's the end of it. He's proven that he's the better guy. This needs to change, because if you watch the WAF tournament, there's a lot of matches where there's multiple jump starts on both sides, and sometimes even the guy that jump starts all the time finally beats his opponent, just like I showcase right now. This is something that needs to change. Number 3, fouls should only be called if they give an advantage. And I know this is a very difficult subject, but in all other sports, referees are told to keep a match running. So let's talk about European football for a second. The referees in that sport are told to keep the match fluid, to keep it running. They are told to try to only call or give cards for the fouls that are really necessary and ignore the other ones that are not necessary or relevant for the match. Even some rules are especially changed so there's more fluidity to the game. And I think arm wrestling needs to go the same way. The referees are so experienced, and most of them are arm wrestling themselves, they know if a foul gives an advantage or not. And they need a little bit time to process what's happening on the table. But in WAF right now, it feels like referees are just waiting if somebody does a foul so they can stop the match. They are not even processing what's happening there. And that's what they are told to do, so I'm not knocking that. But we have so experienced referees, and I count myself to that. I always cry inside when I have a good match as a referee and I see 2 guys fighting it out, a good battle, and then suddenly one of them does a little elbow foul and I feel like, please, nobody saw this, please don't make me stop the match. And suddenly, I don't know, somebody in the 3rd row says, I saw an elbow foul, blah, blah. And if you don't stop the match as a referee, you're the fool, because you missed the foul, even though everybody in the crowd and everybody, and probably the athletes, just wanted to go on. So if a foul is not really relevant for the match, if it's just in the center of a table and guys are in a hook and they're just battling it out, and somebody does a little foul just because he's repositioning himself or he's just shaking because of intensity, there's no need to stop the match. Nobody gained a foul on that. If he raises his elbow, puts his elbow down again and suddenly has a huge advantage, that's when you stop the match. And I think in the early days of arm wrestling it was like that. The pads were different and they only stopped the match if you really like lifted your elbow and put your shoulder behind it or whatever. This is how it should be. I'm not saying we should go back to that. I think that's a bit extreme. I think you should still watch very closely what's happening to the elbows. So maybe nobody sits on the end of the pad with his elbow off the pad all the time and maybe prevents himself from losing. That shouldn't happen, of course. But little elbow fouls, especially if both guys are in the middle of the table, they shouldn't be called. And the referee should have the power to decide based on their experience if this is a foul or if it's not a foul. And they can discuss afterwards. Let's say one of the guys does a foul and then he loses the match or he wins the match, and the referees don't call the winner immediately. They just talk to each other. Have you seen that foul? Yeah, I saw that foul. What do you think about it? I think he maybe gained an advantage. Then they recall the match afterwards. They will stop. We saw a foul earlier on this guy, so we have to redo the match. And if one of those guys wants to protest that, he can protest that. He can use his protest to protest it. Watch the video with the referees and they can explain to him, yeah, you did that foul. See, you gained an advantage. That's why we call the foul. That's basically how it is in football, just that the athletes or the footballers don't have anything to say. If you want to do it that way, it's okay. If not, the referee can decide on himself. That would make the matches indefinitely more watchable. Okay, now let's get to point number 4. And this is the setup. And the setup is a very controversial subject, and I'm saying it right away. This is just my opinion. If any of those previous 3 points gets taken care of, I'm completely fine with ignoring my own number 4, but I just want to talk about it. And that's the setup. If you watch arm wrestling, you will basically spend 90% of the time watching 2 guys getting set up by the referee. And the 10% time when it's exciting, no, it's just 10% of the time. And I think we should shorten that time. We all know that. For example, shoulders. A lot of time is spent squaring the shoulders of athletes, and referees will definitely curl the shoulders in. I know that this rule exists, I just never understood why. It doesn't really give an advantage if I stand like this or like this. It doesn't really matter in my opinion, or I don't see it. And I think this rule needs to be dropped completely. You should be able to start like this or like this or like this or like this, however you want. The second thing is that athletes should be able to start in a tolerance way. If they agree, both are fine, and the referee is okay with it, they should start the match. I think the only 2 points that really matter to ensure that there is a neutral setup is the center and the knuckles. If you take care of the center and you make sure that no athlete covers the guy's knuckles, then basically you can have a fair match. Some athletes are fine if they are a little bit curled in or a little bit the wrist cupped, and the other guy's even fine with it because he's in his favorite position. I don't know, a little bit ducked in. If he wants to go hook, he's maybe a little bit forward. And if I'm a top roller and I feel well in my grip, and I'm in the center, my knuckles are not covered, I'm good to go. The referees should be able to notice that athletes are fine, that they're not complaining about anything. And if he notices that, he can ask him, you're fine? Yes, I'm fine. He asks him, you're fine? Yes, I'm fine. Okay, don't move, go. And that's it, start the match. And we can have 90-10 to 50-50 maybe. That would be good. Another thing that I want to talk about is the referee's grip. Let's say both athletes are almost fine and suddenly one athlete starts complaining, I want his wrist a little bit more straight. And then I think, wait, if you want to straighten out my wrist, I want to have you straighten out as well. And the referee notices, okay, they start complaining about each other, and he can instantly stop that and say, okay, if you're not getting comfortable with each other, we start in a referee's grip. That's when a referee's grip should be used. If they use the referee grip, they should be completely neutral. That's when a completely parallel setup makes sense. There's no room for tolerance because you want to ensure that nobody even slightly gets an advantage. But that's only in the referee's grip. If they are not in the referee's grip, they should be able to start where they're comfortable as long as the opponent is comfortable as well. That's my rule number 4. This is a very controversial subject, and I'm completely fine with dropping this completely if the other 3 points are taken care of. That's basically what I have to say about the rules. What are your opinion about the WAF rules, the current WAF rules? And I know a lot of people have issues with that. I just want to know what's your opinion. Maybe even you have a different opinion on me. You can comment on the different points. Just say what your opinion is about it, what you would like to see, what you would like to have changed. Let's have a discussion about this. But I think we all agree that something needs to change. So thanks for listening to me, and let's discuss in the comments.